Welcome back to the Timeless Wisdom Podcast. You're joining us again, and today we're taking a deep dive into Surah Al-Baqarah.
A very profound surah.
I know you're out there listening because you want to learn more about finding some peace and tranquility in life, and also how to achieve success in the hereafter.
InshaAllah.
What better place to look for answers than the words of Allah?
Absolutely. The Quran has so much to teach us about these very topics.
So let's dive right into verse 2.2. It paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? It says, "The lightning almost snatches away their sight. Whenever it gives them light, they take a few steps in it, and when the darkness covers them, they stand still." And this imagery of lightning feels so powerful, almost like a warning.
It is.
What do you make of it?
It really does act as a powerful analogy for the fleeting nature of all those worldly distractions. Because like lightning, they can momentarily illuminate our path, but offer no lasting guidance. And so we may take a few steps towards those worldly things, enticed by their fleeting brilliance, but then they quickly fade, leaving us in darkness.
It really makes you stop and think about all the things that we're chasing in our own lives. All those things that promise happiness, but ultimately leave us feeling empty. Could be the pursuit of wealth or status or fleeting pleasures.
Precisely. And the verse is really warning us about relying on these fleeting sources of satisfaction. They can easily snatch our attention and lead us astray.
Without us even realizing it.
Absolutely.
We become so focused on that immediate gratification that we lose sight of the bigger picture. We forget about the eternal light of faith.
That's a good point. And this reminds me of a concept that's quite popular these days in modern psychology.
Oh, really?
Called hedonic adaptation.
Oh, interesting.
Where we get so used to things that give us pleasure that we constantly need more and more
to achieve the same level of satisfaction. It's like this never-ending cycle.
Exactly. And that's why it can lead to emptiness and dissatisfaction.
Oh, I see. So the Quran was addressing these very human tendencies centuries ago and offering guidance on how to break free from these cycles to find that true lasting fulfillment.
Exactly.
Now, the verse continues with, "Had God so willed, indeed, he would have taken away their hearing and sight. Surely God has full power over everything."
Yes.
But this seems to contradict an earlier verse.
Does it?
Where it describes the hypocrites as being deaf, mute, and blind. So how do we reconcile those two ideas?
Well, it's really important to distinguish between physical and spiritual blindness, because the earlier verse you're talking about refers to those who have closed their hearts to God's message, even though they have all their physical senses intact. So they might hear the words, but the meaning, it doesn't penetrate their hearts.
Right.
And they may see all the signs, but they're choosing to just ignore them.
So they have all the tools they need
They do.
to perceive the truth, but they're choosing to focus on these distractions of the material world instead.
Exactly. And verse 47.1 actually clarifies this a little bit further. It says, "And among them are those who listen to you, but when they go away from you, they say to those who have been given knowledge, 'What is it that he said just now?' Those are the ones whose hearts Allah has sealed over, and they follow their own desires." They hear, but they don't truly listen.
Right.
They see, but they don't truly understand.
So it really emphasizes the importance of having a receptive heart,
Yes.
one that's open to receiving God's guidance.
Yes, indeed. And you know what? This all really highlights God's immense mercy, because he doesn't forcefully deprive anyone of their senses. He provides everyone with the capacity to understand and believe, but it's up to us to use those faculties for their intended purpose.
To seek truth and guidance. So how do we move from this state of spiritual blindness to true spiritual insight? Verse 2.21 seems to offer a way forward. It says, "O mankind, worship your Lord who created you and those who were before you, so that you may be God-wary." What a beautiful verse. It connects so beautifully to what we've just been talking about.
It does.
Recognizing God's lordship and acknowledging that he is the creator and sustainer of all things. The key to overcoming all the fleeting distractions of the world.
Right.
It's the foundation upon which we build true guidance and purpose in our lives.
It is.
It's like acknowledging the source of all our blessings, realizing that everything we have ultimately comes from him, reminding ourselves of our utter dependence on him for every breath we take.
Every moment of existence.
Yes.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And it's not just about acknowledging his existence,
No.
but understanding his attributes too.
Yes.
God's lordship manifests in countless ways.
Right.
He's providing for all of creation, regardless of belief.
That's right.
The sun rises for everyone. The rain falls for everyone. The air we breathe is a gift from him to all.
Absolutely.
This reminds me of the concept of tawhid, in Islam, the oneness of God,
Right.
recognizing that he is the sole creator and sustainer. It really helps us shift our focus away from the distractions,
It does.
away from the world to the eternal source of all things.
It's a profound realization,
It is.
one that can bring immense peace and tranquility.
Absolutely. And this recognition of God's lordship,
Yes.
it should naturally lead to a sense of awe and reverence, a feeling of gratitude for his countless blessings.
Right.
It should inspire us to align our lives with his will, to seek his pleasure in all that we do. And that brings us to the concept of Taqwa, God consciousness, which is so central to Islamic teachings.
It is. Taqwa is often translated as God consciousness, but it encompasses so much more than just awareness. It's about really living with that constant awareness of God's presence, recognizing his power and majesty,
Right.
and striving to align our actions with his will.
Having this inner compass
You got it.
that guides our thoughts, our words, our actions,
Yeah.
reminding us that we are accountable to a higher power.
Precisely. And Taqwa isn't just about avoiding sins.
Oh.
It's about actively seeking God's pleasure and drawing closer to him in every aspect of our lives.
So how does this concept of Taqwa connect to our discussion about finding peace and tranquility?
Well, you see, when we live with Taqwa, we free ourselves from all those anxieties and uncertainties of this world because our hearts find solace in the knowledge that we're on the right path, a path that leads to God's pleasure and eternal bliss.
Finding that inner peace that transcends all the ups and downs of life,
Right.
an unshakable foundation that allows us to weather any storm.
Exactly. And this inner peace, it's further cultivated through acts of obedience and worship,
Right.
through fulfilling our obligations to God and to our fellow human beings.
That actually brings to mind verse 17.23, which beautifully connects our relationship with God to our treatment of our parents.
Yes.
It says, "And your Lord has decreed that you not worship except him, and to parents, good treatment. Whether one or both of them reach old age while with you, say not to them so much as uff, and do not repel them, but speak to them a noble word."
Such an important verse.
It is.
It really emphasizes the profound respect and care that Islam places on honoring our parents. A direct link between our relationship with God and how we treat those who brought us into this world
Right.
and nurtured us with so much love and sacrifice.
It's like saying that honoring our parents is an integral part of worshiping God,
You got it.
a reflection of our gratitude towards him for the gift of life and family.
Precisely. And if you notice, the verse specifically mentions showing patience and respect,
Right.
especially as parents age.
Right.
It's a reminder of all the sacrifices they made, the sleepless nights, the unwavering love they showered upon us.
Absolutely.
It's calling us to reciprocate that love with kindness, compassion, and understanding.
I think this really resonates with the emphasis on family values that you find in many cultures and religions.
It does.
It's like this universal truth.
It is.
Honoring and caring for our parents, it's essential for a harmonious society.
Absolutely. And this respect for life, it extends beyond just our parents.
Right.
It encompasses appreciating every breath, every moment that God has gifted us.
It means recognizing the sanctity of life
Yes.
and using our time and abilities.
In ways that are pleasing to Him.
So it's about living with intention, making conscious choices that align with our values and beliefs,
Right.
using our time and resources.
For purposes that benefit ourselves and others.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
What's one of the most practical ways to cultivate taqwa and live a life that honors God?
I would have to say actively seeking guidance from the Quran to study its verses, reflect on their meanings, and strive to implement its teachings in our daily lives.
It's like having this manual for life
Yes, a guidebook that offers timeless wisdom.
on navigating the challenges of opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay.
And a great place to start is by looking for verses that begin with the phrase, "O you who believe," because these verses are like direct messages from God,
Right.
offering specific guidance on actions that lead to His mercy and protection.
Having this direct line to the divine.
Exactly. For example, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 2.245, it beautifully illustrates this whole concept of giving back to God. It says, "Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan so He may multiply it for him many times over? And it is Allah who withholds and grants abundance, and to Him you will be returned."
I love that analogy.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Like a loan to God really emphasizes that everything we have ultimately belongs to him.
It does.
And that by giving in charity,
yes,
we're not losing something. We're investing in something far greater. Reward in the hereafter that is multiplied many times over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this concept, it's so central to understanding the Islamic economic system,
Right.
where wealth is seen as a trust from God and giving back to those in need. It's a fundamental obligation.
It's fascinating how these teachings revealed centuries ago
I know.
are still so relevant in addressing these issues, economic inequality and social responsibility.
Absolutely. The Quran's wisdom is timeless, offering guidance on a vast array of topics.
From personal ethics to social justice, from family matters to financial management. So in a way, seeking knowledge and acting upon it is the ultimate way to honor the gift of life.
It
And to
is.
find that lasting fulfillment.
Indeed. The more we learn about God's guidance and strive to implement it in our lives, the closer we draw to Him and the more peace and tranquility we experience.
It's a journey of continuous growth and self-discovery, path that leads to a life of meaning, both in this world and the next. And speaking of practical steps towards a more fulfilling life, for our listeners who are feeling inspired to turn this wisdom into tangible results, I highly recommend checking out the Broke Entrepreneur channel.
Absolutely.
They have some really amazing resources on building a successful life grounded in faith,
They offer practical guidance,
on everything from to personal development.
all rooted in Islamic values.
Yes.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone seeking to really integrate their faith into their daily lives and create a life of purpose and abundance.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our exploration of these verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, what are some key takeaways that you hope our listeners will carry with them?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is the importance of seeking true guidance, because it's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life and to lose sight of what truly matters.
Right.
But these verses, they really remind us to look beyond the fleeting distractions of this world and to focus on the eternal light of faith.
And I think recognizing God's lordship in every single aspect of our lives is so crucial.
Yes, it is.
Appreciating all His blessings, whether they're big or small.
And just striving to live in a way that pleases Him. That's really where true peace and contentment lie.
Absolutely.
And of course, we can't forget about cultivating Taqwa.
Yes. It's not just a concept. It is a way of life.
It's about constantly checking ourselves, making sure that our actions are aligned with our values,
Right.
and just striving for excellence in everything that we do.
Taqwa is like that inner compass
It is.
that keeps us on that straight path and guides us towards a life of purpose and meaning.
It's a beautiful reminder that true peace and success, both in this life and the hereafter, it comes from aligning ourselves with God's will.
Absolutely.
And it's not about forcing ourselves to conform to some rigid rules.
No.
It's about understanding the wisdom behind those rules.
Yes.
And embracing them as a pathway to a more fulfilling life.
Exactly.
For our listeners out there who are feeling inspired and they want to put these teachings into practice, what would you suggest as a starting point?
I would encourage them to reflect on these verses and see how they resonate with their own lives.
Right.
Ask themselves what lights they might be chasing that are leading them astray, and how they can deepen their awareness of God's presence in their daily lives, and how they can cultivate taqwa in their thoughts, words, and actions.
I think those are excellent questions. For self-reflection, personal journey,
It is.
but it's one that is guided by the timeless wisdom of the Quran.
Exactly. The Quran is not just a book to be read,
Right.
but a guide to be lived.
Yes,
And it's accessible to everyone,
it really is.
regardless of their background or circumstances.
So true. It's this incredible source of guidance and inspiration that really transcends time and cultures,
It does.
offering solutions to
Yeah.
all those challenges that we face as individuals and as a society.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Absolutely not.
The Muslim community is a great source of support
Yes.
and encouragement.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, inspire you to be your best self.
Right.
And for those looking for that practical guidance,
Yes.
don't forget to check out the Broke Entrepreneur channel.
Absolutely. They offer fantastic resources
They do.
on building a successful life grounded in faith showing you how to apply these timeless principles
in a modern context.
Exactly.
This has been such an insightful discussion.
It has.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us.
And my pleasure.
And to all of our listeners, remember, the Quran's wisdom is timeless. Apply it today.